So I finished watching Blue Bloods, the last series. It had a great finale, didn't it?
Yeah, did you like it?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. And I am surprised that the season it's over now, that Blue Bloods is completely over, because I was thinking maybe the last series wouldn't be as good as the others, but I thought it was fantastic again.
Oh, I appreciate you hearing that because I know that you vet them all with ferocity. Is that a good word? That you like the show, and if it wasn't good, you wouldn't blow smoke. Uh, I I, uh, I found myself getting welly. Isn't that what you Brits say? Yeah, like and unexpectedly because I knew what was coming, and when you see what it also brought back the memories of the fact that everybody primarily who wasn't dead uh, was in that funeral scene, and it was really what a gift that was that they opted to provide an opportunity for us all to hang out together like that. That literally was our. Oh, someone just like that. Is he joining us? Oh, let me say, want to join? Um, that was our literally our last day of filming,
Yeah, it was a very poignant scene, wasn't it?
and
With
it
the
was
bagpipes and
yeah, and what you didn't see was there in the time for another hour after we were finished, uh, the producers, it was the time that we were all corralled together. Although they had a certain closure when they shot Family Dinner for that episode that, the rest of us were not a part of. But the literally end of season gifts and final words and speaking. It all happened right there in that cemetery scene for about another hour, and it was very emotional. And I really appreciated the way that our producers handled it, so that we all could have much needed closure, really. Um,
yeah. And you did
and
actually make it to the Reagan family dinner, didn't you, this in this series for the first time?
oh, that's right. That that was this season, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I should have worn that shirt and sweater. Um, the wardrobe department gifted me that shirt and burgundy sweater that Garrett wears at family dinner. They included it with a couple of suits, and
Wow.
my wife still says to this day, "Wait, that's really handsome, that ensemble." She goes, "I dress you well," and I went, "No, honey, this actually is not a sweater that you bought for me because my wife does dress me." Um, it was she goes, oh, that's a good color on you, and even the person who works in the costume department, they were anxious to find out my reaction to the clothes they had selected for me to wear for that scene, because they were also very, very proud of how they thought it was going to look on me. So yeah, family dinner meant not meant a lot, not just to me, but also to everybody that got to contribute to that moment.
Yeah, and that was actually going to be one of my questions, was going to be, did you get to keep anything from the show? And you've just said, yeah, got to keep quite a few outfits.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that the last time. All the
No.
things I stole that if I said publicly, I there'd be a knock on the door by the police department. Um, actually, I was the least. I didn't take anything that didn't. Actually, I didn't take anything. Um, I kept the things that belonged to me, like the cufflinks that were. Did I talk about the cufflinks last time?
No, no, I don't think you did.
So, actual DCPI of the NYPD, Paul J. Brown, gifted me his actual shield cufflinks that he had made for him. And so he gifted me actually two pair because he had forgotten that he had gifted me a one pair like when we first met. So now I have two because took those with me. Plus the tie pin, it's a pearl tie pin that the costume department let me add as a character choice because my sister gifted me a pearl tie pin that I always wear. And I said, I'd like to have a pearl tie pin for Garrett, just to nod to my sister. And then the props department sent me the Boomer Esiason signed white football that was signed to Garrett. I have that in my possession, and then a couple of suits, but nothing like Abby, who I want to see if that was. Did she? Oh, 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 Abby won't be joining us because she's skiing
Oh, well, that's a very good excuse.
with
That's
her
a very good
boys.
reason, isn't
Yeah,
it?
with her boys, being a while her husband works. Wait, that's good mom. Good mom. Um,
Cool.
but speaking of ski lady, the door, so the two doors that go into the commissioner's office, and it's the door, if you're walking into the office, it's the right side door, which is the door we always walk through because it opens and then it allows that POV when the door's closing of the commissioner seeing her look while she's seated at the desk all the time.
Yeah.
Door is in Abby's house now.
Oh, wow. That's great
So
because yeah, that's very iconic in the show, isn't it? Because as you mentioned, every time the door opens, Abby would always give Frank a look, wouldn't she? It was always
yeah,
quite funny.
it really was like that door was a very effective acting tool for her character in terms of, yeah, the communication when she makes an entrance and announces somebody to, I mean, I'm sure the brass is missing from that handle because it's all been absorbed into her right hand. So she should have that door. Is there anything else from the show that I have? Oh, and the back of my director's chair, my cast chair, it says DCPI Garrett Moore on one side, and on the other side has the Blue Bloods logo. And our that was also props.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I think. Or who is it? The grip? What department? I never know. Lighting, it's either lighting or camera department. It's lighting department, I think.
I mean, that's
Or
great because you don't really hear that a lot now on television. A lot of people don't get to keep items from the show, so that's great. You've got so many.
no, yeah, and a lot of it was because the department heads knew that it would be of value to us. And so um, the costumes just showed up unannounced in a big box, and I was like a little kid at Christmas with everything they sent me. And then the props things, I think they emailed me first and said, "Would you like before?" Because everything was sold. They had they put everything out on tables for a couple of days in one of the empty sound stages and they just sold everything. So people came from all over. But what they did was they opened up sale of the items to the cast and crew before they opened it up to the public so that, people wanted to claim some. But I've gotten emails from friends who go, I've got so and so's coffee cup, or I've got the dishes they ate in episode 12, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, cool.
I've got one
I
of
just
those.
saw somewhere that the Reagan table has landed at I think it's at a Wahlburgers in Boston. Am I remembering that correctly? I saw a picture.
Wow,
Yeah, but the Reagan family dinner table
is it
is
a restaurant?
actually they've sort of I think they've got a little bit of a shrine to Blue Bloods at a Wahlburgers. I think Donnie probably orchestrated that. Speaking of, is this a spoiler? Have you seen the Variety news from yesterday?
No, I haven't. No, you can
Uh,
spoil it.
well, it was a surprise to me too. Apparently, there will be a Blue Bloods spinoff, and it's being called Boston Blue. And Donnie's character, Danny Reagan, will relocate and work with the Boston PD
Oh
as
wow.
Danny Reagan in this spinoff. And uh, because which doesn't surprise me because Donnie has a development deal with CBS, and I know that they attempted to do a spinoff with Lyle Lovett originally with one of our executive producers to write, and they were going to put it in Texas with Lyle Lovett and his Texas Ranger stuff, and then Donnie would work with him as Danny Reagan in Texas. But for reasons, because I'm not in that loop, it didn't go. And then I literally just saw in the trades yesterday that they wisely did a pivot and said, "How about we set something in Boston?" And that makes really good sense
Yeah.
for Donnie with his own personal, native Boston roots. And yeah, and so there is still life after Blue Bloods. I have no idea who all is going to be involved. I hope they write an episode where they have to talk to the DCPI um, in NYPD, or maybe Garrett's retired and on vacation doing uh, the Liberty Walk, whatever they call the Freedom Trail in Boston, and he maybe gets yeah. So writers, I'll fly to Boston.
Yeah. No, that's great to hear that. And yeah,
Yeah,
you don't know. There could be some cameos involved, couldn't there, from the original cast? You just don't know.
if they're smart, yeah, sure. I'd like to be in Boston when it's warm. I've been in Boston when it's cold. It's beautiful, but I don't have big enough boots anymore for that kind of snow.
And when you got the scripts for Blue Bloods, what was that like? What was that experience like of getting a new script from the show?
Well, when I first started, it was a Bible, and I read the whole thing, and I was completely memorized before I showed up to my first day of work, which was to shoot an exterior press conference out in front of the actual 1PP. And the moment I arrived, and Tom pulls out his legal pad of notes that he has, because he's so busy that he doesn't get to really respond to what the script says until we deal with each individual scene. And I learned on that first day, Tom Selleck has a whole bunch of notes that don't get implemented. So don't get married to the script because it's going to change. And that scene that I had a few lines in turned out, Tom goes, "So this whole paragraph, I think Garrett can say this." that so that Tom Selleck, the aging actor, shouldn't have to memorize this entire paragraph, but Greg, who's younger, can. So I realized, oh, that's how I got my job. It's because Tom's going, yeah, we have all this important shoe leather that we need for the audience to know that's required for our story to move forward. But it'd be nice if me, Tom Selleck, didn't have to memorize this. Let's let Greg say it. And, you know, I'm the actor who's grateful to have a job. And I'll go, you bet. More screen time, hearing my own voice, making sure I still have my memorization faculties available. So at first I stressed out, going, oh man, this is like, I have 30 minutes to learn all this new stuff. And it did not take long. It took a lot of hand holding by our script supervisor who sat with me, could see the beads of sweat forming on my face with fear, going, "Oh my gosh, this, this isn't what I rehearsed." But although I never freaked out, in truth, but maybe within just a few episodes, I suddenly had a muscle that I could learn 5 pages of dialogue in. So we come into the space. We're gonna shoot a scene, and it's a 5-page scene, and it involves Abby, Bob, me, and Tom in the commissioner's office. We all show up. We've got our coffee. We've just had our breakfast. We're not changed. The three of us are in makeup. Tom isn't in makeup yet because he literally lands, comes right to the set, and we sit down and we pull the script out and we read it out loud. We sit down and we just say it out loud for the first time. And then everybody chimes in with their ideas about, oh, blah, blah, maybe we should change this. And then, although I never do, because I learned early on, be careful having any criticism of what's on the page because you never know who wrote it. That's another story. And if you remind me, we'll come back to it. But the point being, then we put on his feet. Then Tom pulls out his legal pad and goes, yeah, yeah, I think, blah, blah, blah. And then everything gets changed. And then we all sit there and pencil in all the new lines and how it's going to be, because once we agree what we're all going to say, there's no ad-libbing. It's not like we're going to go, oh, I just kind of want to change this. I'll feel it. We'll see. No, it's like, these are the words that tell the story, and this is what we're going to say. So then once that's locked, then we read it through again, and then we put it up on its feet. And then and then we do a final run through for all the other department heads to watch and for the camera department to follow us with our colored tape because every time wherever we start, standing or seated, like what color was I? Yellow. A piece of yellow tape went on the floor so they knew where I started. And our stand-ins are watching because once we walk away, their job is to replicate our movements so that the camera department can light everything while we're away for 30 to 45 minutes or 20 minutes sometimes. Um, and then we do it one last time. They mark us. They go, okay, great. First team, the actors, first team can go and get dressed. Tom can get into makeup, and then the camera department and props they'll take over and get the scene lit and ready to go. In that amount of time, I developed the ability to completely learn 5 pages of dialogue. Like I could easily learn a full page monologue in 30 minutes. And it's while I'm putting on my suit because I'm already in makeup and I've already been fed. And I've already had a little time in the for my ablutions. So I'm ready to work. And uh, I learned, I developed the ability to go, oh, I don't have to worry about dialogue because it's pretty much in there. So I'm running it. I'm literally saying it out loud while I'm putting on my shirt, putting on my clothes. The script is right here. I put it down to, if I need two hands, I pick it back up and go, wait, what was that line? And I keep doing that. I go back and I do the entire scene over and over and over till the whole thing is locked in pretty well. Then we come back and shoot, and we're going to shoot a master. So it's going to be a wide shot far away. So there's room for not being exactly perfect on your lines. So even though I'm pretty darn close, I have the luxury of shooting the masters where I get to kind of practice and get the physical movement in my body that correlates with what I have to say. And then we always shoot Tom's close ups first. So that means the cameras are behind us, over our shoulders, on Tom. So I have the luxury of all those takes that where we're just shooting Tom, that I can really fine tune my performance and get the words perfect and ready so that when we turn around, which means literally uh, like take all those cabinets and the walls that are behind Tom's desk, they all fly out and go away. And then the entire crew that's behind us turns around and goes behind him, 3 cameras, and then they redress the office behind us. And that takes 20 to 30 minutes. And then we turn around and shoot us, and I have that time to refresh. So in terms of the script, by the time it's to shoot my coverage, I've had 90 minutes minimally of rehearsal in the moment with the other actors so that when it's time for me to say my words, I'm like
You're
honed
ready.
in
Yeah.
and ready to go. So the script, and I am because of Tom, because it's a little different. I only know, no, have I worked with Donnie and Marissa where he's been loose? No, not really. But there's a lot more freedom in the dialogue when Donnie and Marissa are working, and when Bob used to be, when Gormley used to be in that world of Danny Reagan, and it used to freak Bob out because there was lot of ad libbing, and Bob really likes things. He likes to see what's coming. Did I say this? Am I throwing Bob under the bus? When you're watching scenes in the commissioner's office, notice where Bob's manila folder with all of his briefs are. They're actually sitting on the desk right in front of him on the commissioner's desk. And he's got all of his lines written out right there because he doesn't want to mess up. So the funny thing is, he only does it in scenes with Tom because he wants to make sure he's 100% there supporting Tom with his dialogue when we're shooting Tom's coverage. Doesn't want to be the guy that blows a take, right? And Abby and I always tell him, you don't need that. You're just doing that because you're like, and he goes, we keep telling him, you don't need that. You're always perfect. And he goes, no, I need it as it's like a, security blanket. Because when we shoot scenes that's just Bob and Abby and me, that thing is, he doesn't have a binder with his notes, with his lines on it. He's relaxed, but because he also knows, well, he doesn't care about us, clearly. No, it's not the case. He creates the stakes are so high for him because he has such integrity and he wants to be 100% there. But take a look. Take a look at where Gormley's folder is in the commissioner's office.
I have to look
Or
out for that. Yeah.
yeah, you'll go, oh, there it is. Oh, and the editors do a really great job of you rarely see. There are a couple of moments where you see Gormley think, and he's deft enough to you're not realizing that he's actually pulling his lines up off the page. Um, but what's great is that he knows what he needs for his comfort, and he's winning
Yeah.
as Gormley, and now I'm missing him terribly as I talk about them both.
Yeah, I was going to say, how much do you miss all of the actors? I mean, obviously, you don't see them as nowhere near as much as you used to.
No, so yeah, I mean, I literally have Bob and Abby on a chat thread right here and she just sent a picture of her skiing. Um, Bob's at the doctor's office, he said. So, um, I was in New York. Uh, Josie Rodriguez, who was a casting associate for Blue Bloods, for Bowling Misha, Beth Bowling and Kim Misha, who are the casting office for our show. Um, Josie got recognized by the casting society, their Artios Awards, and they asked the cast to come in and surprise her and be up on stage to present her award. So Abby, Sammy Gale, uh, Andrew Tarasirino, what's Andrew's last name? And then and Bridget and myself were all there. So I got to hang out with Abby and all of them for a couple of hours, and it was really nice. And I'm going back to do the final post production on the film I directed next week. So Bob and Abby and I are planning to get together first week of March because we can't be that close to each other and not at least get a couple of laughs in and a couple of important hugs and find out what's. She's going to try and get me to babysit so she and her husband can go out. And it's not really babysitting. It's more like, do I wear enough protective clothing so that her sons don't beat the living crap out of me because they're boys and they're fantastic and but oh, they have dogs too. Yeah, yeah. I might be able to use the allergic thing, which isn't true. Cats. Yeah. Um, yeah. So maybe I'll get to sit with her boys so she and
That'd be
Brian can go
nice.
out and have a night out. Maybe, boy, did I make a mistake by putting that in the air? It's going to happen now. All right.
Probably.
Yep. Who loves you, Abby?
So, when you just get into the role of Garrett, would it sort of be like as you were putting on the suit kind of thing? It would get you into the role.
You know, um, if you were to look at when Garrett made his first entrance in his very first episode at the end of season one, the line was, "Can we just jump right in?" And it was Kevin Wade, who's got a book out right now called Johnny Dangerous. No, who
That's right. Yeah, Johnny Dangerous.
is that? What it is? He's got a novel that just came out. Kevin Wade is the voice of Garrett Moore. Uh, Greg Jbara is a Neanderthal from blue collar Michigan. Uh, Garrett is a learned, educated, articulate, um, socially aware human with a vocabulary that is far more expansive than I ever had. And I will, till my dying day, credit Kevin Wade because his even unspoken communication that he puts on the page has become a part of my DNA. I have I have become a more articulate, uh, seemingly learned individual because the the rhythms, the 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 music that is the way Garrett communicates has be, seeped into my body, and it's the best thing ever. Uh, Anyone who knows me would go, "Oh yeah, you've changed." And it's the great thing about playing Garrett is that all I've had to do is lean into the words that are on the page. There isn't a big transformation. There isn't like some preparatory thing I have to do. It is, and especially we've been doing it for so long. The writing is spot on. We know all the players that I get to work with. We all know what the machine is. I literally just show up and it just happens. And it doesn't require, and I would say the same thing with my Broadway career. Once you're doing a show, excuse me, 8 times a week, it gets to the point where you literally just show up at half hour, just in time to sign in before the production stage manager screams at you for being a minute late. And then you're still like I'm literally flossing, brushing, and just finishing my makeup as the overture starting, and you just walk right on stage at the right time. Once things get into your once it becomes muscle memory, uh, it couldn't be simpler to do. So that's the luxury of having worked on Garrett for so long is um, he's established. I don't have to prove our audience knows that that's Garrett because they go, oh yeah, Greg Jbara plays Garrett Moore. That's what was the late great Tony Roberts. He just passed away a couple of weeks ago. Had the luxury of working with him. He had said when I was at Northwestern, they actually he has a New York accent, and I won't even attempt it. He had said he was cast as Hamlet, and he was going, I can't play Hamlet when he was in the theater school at Northwestern. And he goes, and this his professor goes, yes. He goes, I'm not Hamlet. He goes, you are Hamlet. The audience comes in, they see the playbill, it says Hamlet. And then you're the actor who walks on stage and the first person addresses you as Hamlet, or you say the famous soliloquy that Hamlet says. The audience is already dialed in. You are Hamlet because it's all been set up. It doesn't matter. Whatever you think in your head, you're that character because tonight that's how it's. And so that's the luxury of playing Garrett because Garrett was talked about for a couple of episodes before he was ever materialized by casting me. He his influence in the commissioner's life was already established. And then finally they said, well, finally Tom said, I want Greg Jbara to play Garrett Moore. And then I got to walk through that door and say, can we just start? Can we just jump right in? And commissioner says, do you have any other way or something to that effect? And I just like tumble out. Just here's the plan. Here's our problem. Here's what we do. And so the stage was set, and all I had to do was make the words sound like they're really coming out of me.
Yeah, and it was interesting. The first time I spoke to you, I was wondering, would you have the same accent, or would you have a different accent when you acted as
Yeah,
Garrett
yeah.
Moore?
There was no accent. No, I get to be Greg Jbara with his nasal Michigan regionalisms, uh, which ironically was the thing that my voice teachers at Juilliard beat out of me. Um, when I auditioned, I can remember Liz Smith, uh, amazing teacher, and then I got to work with her professionally after. She was the dialect coach on Michael Hoffman's Midsummer Night's Dream, beautiful film rendering of Shakespeare's play. Uh, she had, she goes, "Oh yes, dear, I heard your hideous Michigan accent. And I couldn't wait to get my hands on it." And it was like, so they beat that crap out of you, but then it's really so that you can learn to do other things. That you can place your voice. You can sound like a classically trained actor if you need to. You can sing from a different place. You can speak. You have a whole range of options. But the bottom line is, it's still the essence of Greg Jbara, that guy from Michigan, that gets hired. So no dialect. They very lovingly welcomed Greg to embody Garrett Moore because in a lot of other, I mean, really, if you look at a lot of other projects, I always lean into dialects, and uh, the last couple of movies I did, I had all different kinds of dialects. It's kind of a nice touchstone to go, oh, who would this be? Where's he from? But Garrett Moore gets to be me, and that was really nice.
Yeah, I mean. with acting then, I mean, you were speaking recently, just a minute ago, about you're directing a film. What can you tell us about that?
I was literally in a wonderful Zoom session with our producers right before this. And so, summer of 22, our uh, our our uh, producer Santiago Quinones moved my last couple of days of shooting at that season, end of 22, so that I could fly and be in Santa Fe to play the Senate hearing chairman for Oppenheimer. And then right when that was, and because the movie was going to cut me loose because they needed me boots on the ground 48 hours before the film started because Nolan was moving so fast. They didn't want to risk any actor not being there. So I did that. Then I came back to New York and shot um, A Ramble Towards Rain, which is going to be coming out this year as an actor. And then I went back to New Mexico to Truth or Consequences to shoot a film then called The Warm Season. And now it's called Alien Intervention, and it's streaming on every major platform. And also, that character that I play does not sound like this, um, and is a big pot abuser, not like this. And he but that group that I shot Alien Intervention with, um he the screenwriter Adam Seidel and his mother, who's a longtime friend of mine. She's a major Broadway investor, and she actually produces Adam's films. He's a ridiculously gifted storyteller. They hit this second major feature of his mom, after, and the other producers, after vetting several directors, she emailed me and said, um, I'm not happy with anybody we're meeting, and I can't get out of my head that I think you should be directing this film. And I'm not the actor who says, oh, but I really want to direct. I don't. Never did. I have a profound respect for it. It appears to me to be the most selfless existence. It's a huge responsibility. And I like having somebody else put on my makeup. I like having a driver pick me up at my house. I like, and only worrying about Greg's world, that makes me happy. The notion of taking on the mantle of a director of a feature film, well, it was a year ago Thanksgiving when she reached out, and I talked to my wife about it. I went, this is a very unusual opportunity, and it's coming. It will happen after Blue Bloods is done. I think this is something I have to do. I never would have made this happen for myself. So that's how it fell in my lap, because someone who is a very dear friend saw something for me that I wasn't looking for. And it ended up being the most magnificent experience of my life. Uh, Beautiful story about some young artists in the music industry in New York City. Originally was a play called Original Sound at the Minetta Lane Theater in 2019, if you want to look it up. Um, but Adam adapted it for the screen, and I was gifted the directorship, and it's beautiful. We're in the fine tuning phases. We'll have a finished picture for first week of March, and I it makes me want to do it again. The key was all of our department heads, from our producers to our casting director to everybody, art direction, everybody, sound, our DP Sarah Brandis, who really co-directed the film with me. She's such a genius, visionary. Um, it was the easiest. All I had to do, all I had to do was keep telling people, "Yeah, I like that. Yeah, let's do that. Oh yeah, that's great. Let's do that." It was, we had our three stars: Laura Morano, David Lambert, Ari Notamaso, Eric Stoltz, Bridget Moynihan came and did a small role in the film. Uh,
Right.
David Yazbek, Tony-winning Broadway composer, Konstantin Maroulis, rock star, original lead in Rock of Ages on Broadway. Amazing cast. Everybody brought their A game. Nobody made it about themselves. The picture is beautiful. It's a very important, uplifting story with a lot of difficult conflict. And I couldn't be more proud that I get the credit for riding on everybody else's coattails. It's really nice.
And with doing a film, with directing a film, do you all get to watch like the final cut before it comes out, or how does that work?
Oh, yeah. Well, contractually, and it's my first gig, so I was actually very well protected by the producers. They said, "Here's basically here's this is the template of the boilerplate feature film director's contract, and it lists all my obligations, what I'm responsible for, and I have to provide my first director's cut within a very reasonable amount of time once we finish principal photography, and then." I also foster all the other stages. So once I built with our editor, who's a Sujin Chung is a, a creative force in and of herself. So, Sarah and I oversee the shooting of all the footage. Then we hand everything off to this editor who then assembles the movie based on how they see it and what we've given them and taking the notes. And then I get to sit down with that editor and go, "Oh, wow, you got that. Oh, you got that. You got that. Oh, here's some things. We had a different idea about this. And then we rebuild it. And then that's the director's cut. And then we show that to all of our producers. And everybody chimes in with notes. And then we implement the notes and we fine tune, we fine tune. We finally get to a picture lock, which means this is how the film's going to look. And then I get to hand off that to our composers, and I work with our composers for a couple of weeks, and we score the movie. And then once they've got done all their work, and we're like giddy with how the film is even better with a film score, then we hand it off to our audio mastering and our color correction specialists and our visual effects. So and I get to oversee the whole process. And people defer to my opinion, which what's the right way to say it? To learn that I actually had a creative voice and that I had taste and uh, that I had things to offer in the post-production world or even in the from day one leadership. When we were developing the script, I actually got to contribute ideas about how best to tell this story. And they were implemented and I was listened to. And we got this amazing shot from a rooftop following our hero out of his apartment building that establishes where we are at the beginning of the film, that pans up and grabs the skyline of New York from Williamsburg, right? And we shot it on a rainy day that didn't look perfect in that, but we were like, we're a low budget feature. We only have 22 days. And we shot it and I looked at it, we did it a couple of different ways, and I'm going, after we I went, oh, you know what? I know what it's not exactly right. I know what we need to make that shot exactly right. I'm gonna I'm just gonna say we need to reschedule a reshoot for that moment. And we did. We tagged it on the end of a day that ended up being pristine, beautiful, clear sky with a planet and the moon, and the city looked amazing right after the sunset. And the timing was taut. Like we did the whole action in such a shorter span of time, and it was perfect. But the production made it happen because sat and went, "Oh, it could be better," and let's make that happen. And my first AD, she just who she really is I mean, she was the boss. Uh, she said, "Okay, if you say that's what's got to happen, I'll make it happen." And then it did, and we shot it, and it paid off in spades. But the idea that I could go, "Oh, we really need to do this," and people just went, "You're the director, okay, then we're doing it." It was like, that's a little dangerous to realize, but I respected it and also deferred to everyone else. And what was we were wrestling in our press kit. It said a film by on the title page. It says original sound of film by Gregory Jbara. And I went back and said, "Oh, we can't put that up there." I mean, I know that's what directors always get, right? It's the vanity billing, right? I'm going, this is not a film by Greg Jbara. This was directed by Greg Jbara, but this was a film by about 200 other people. So let's just say directed by Gregory Jbara, because this is not a film. This is Adam Seidel's story. It was his play. It was the vision of him and his mother and the two theatrical producers who ended up producing the movie to have the vision to bring it to a screen. It's not a film by Greg Jbara. It's a beautiful film that Greg Jbara got to direct.
And how much of, say, that film would be edited out just for people who don't? I imagine an hour or something like that, or does it depend?
Well, if you asked our editor, we shot more footage than anyone's ever had to manage on a low budget feature film. Like, because it's digital. So it takes up all, and it's HD, it's 4K. So it's a lot of data, requires a lot of storage space, and it takes a lot of time to download all the dailies so that our editor has all that to work with in their editing suite. That's the only reason I'm aware that because we did a lot of split screen stuff, and we did a lot of, so we'd have two, like in a feature film, it's usually one camera running, right? For most of the stuff. And you do several takes using one camera. We did several takes with two cameras running a lot. Like one camera would be locked down and the other one would be locked down or handheld or have a little more flexibility. So we basically we shot two complete feature films in terms of actual footage and data. Um, what was the question?
Like how long would you take out of like the filming? I suppose it could be so two films
So
basically.
the upside was when Sujin made her first assembly as the editor, we were we were only about 10 to 12 minutes longer than it is now, final. It was pretty darn close. It was not like a 2 hour movie that we had to trim down to 90 minutes because that's sort of the target is my understanding. If you can tell a story in 90 minutes, it makes it, first of all, digestible, also highly marketable. Um, so, um, yeah, and that just happened to be the case that the story that Adam wrote, the screenplay, the words on the page, were really close to exactly what we needed. We had to kill a few children. There were some there were some scenes that had to go away. But it wasn't because they were bad. It was like, oh, right. You feel the difference between what you can pull off when you do a play. You can be a little more verbose. You can have a little more expanse in time. In film, you really must be very economical. I mean, you do in theater too. You could put an audience to sleep, but um, it was such a great transformation from the stage play, and it completely he really reconceived what the story could be, fleshed out other characters, brought other characters in. Yeah, it was, and but it was didn't have to. Yeah, we didn't have to trim a lot of fat. It was all there, and it's really beautiful and surprising. Um, how all three of our hero characters, and actually all four, including Eric Stoltz as the manager, you really get caught up in their human struggle.
Right. And
You
what's the
really
name
care
of the
about it.
film?
It's called Original Sound, and
Great.
it will be coming to a, maybe not a theater because theaters don't seem to be the profitable way to showcase films anymore. But it'll be out in 20, probably not. We're in 2025. May not come till the end of the year or next year. We haven't even sold it yet, so
Hmm.
we have a couple more weeks
It's in
to
the
finish.
pipeline.
It's beautiful, and it will see the light of day. It will be available for anybody that wants to see it, and there's live music. It's about the music industry. Two of our leads are pop stars and singer songwriters in their own right, and so they, along with our music producers, we have 5 songs that are performed live in the film, and it's thrilling and it's really good music. And as this 63-year-old dad whose sons roll their eyes every time we're on a road trip, and I go, "Is that Katy Perry?" And they go, um, to have our casting director find these young artists who I didn't know existed. They come from primetime Disney and they have their own music careers. It's not my world. I didn't know who these people were. But to end up with the cast that we did and the composers that we did at Flavor Lab, uh, and that all of it is winning. It's beautiful. It sounds great. It's a really well acted. It's a great film. I can't get over how good it is.
Well, we'll look forward to that. And you mentioned Oppenheimer. Was you in the scenes? I think I saw you in the film. Was you in the scenes with Robert Downey Jr. when it was in black and white?
That's right. I played Senator, oh, what was his name? Because I didn't know the senator's name until the day we showed up to film. Yeah, I was the Senate hearing chairman throughout the entire film. Yeah, every time we came back to which was basically the engine of the film, right? It was the Strauss hearing, approval hearing that would always bring us back to the story, right? That took us back in time and the whole journey. But yeah, and that was a self-tape audition. I put myself on tape for my agent from LA said Charles uh, Silver said, yeah. So Nolan's next movie, they need a bunch of government people, senators, congressmen. This is the scene that you audition for. We put yourself on tape. So I did it two different ways and submitted it. And yeah, 3 months later, they said, he's hiring you. I said, shut up. Would I get to be in a Chris Nolan movie? Because I'm a crazy Chris Nolan fan, like huge. I've probably watched Tenet a dozen times and never get bored. Um, yeah, so that was giddy. That was I was like a little kid in a candy store when he and Van Hoytema, the DP, both of them, did they both win Oscars for that?
Yeah, Oppenheimer did really well.
Yeah, I know Nolan got Robert Downey Jr. won. Yeah, they won a lot of. I think Hoyt did too, right? He should have. Anyway, I still hadn't met him. They were shooting the scene where they're walking, him and you know, young Han Solo. When you're 63, names escape you. You can list a person's resume, how many times they've been arrested, who their spouses are, their illegitimate children, but their names never come forward. Um, Ehrenreich, Alden. Um, the scene that they literally shot it all in sequence. So we were ready in our seats, dressed, made up. That plus the 100 plus extras in that Senate hearing chamber that was lit to be shot 360. All of the, they wisely had um, um, television cameras and film cameras in the world of chronicling the Senate hearing with period lighting equipment so that everything could be seen, and then they could turn and shoot any way they wanted. And that's what they did. They came in with the dolly with a camera on it, a dolly grip, a boom operator. Hoyta was on the eyepiece, and Nolan was standing there with his overstuffed script under his arm, not looking at a monitor. He's standing next to the camera watching the actor's performance. And then when when the take was over, he'd go to Hoyta. Did you get it? Do you like that? And Hoyta goes, yeah, I like it. Like, asking, did you frame it like? Was it in focus? Are you good there? And Hoyta would say, yeah, we're good to move. Then they would go, okay, what are we going to do next? And they just moved around that space and kept shooting. And it was so much fun. When I got the gig, I thought, oh, Nolan and I are going to be on speed dial. We're going to be best friends. And, after 90 minutes of sitting in that room and everyone else that I met leading up to for the 2 days prior, all the PAs, all the department heads, everybody leads with kindness and are personable and amazing human beings. And I thought, oh, this is great because that starts at the top. The director sets a tone about how people are treated, and it was amazing. And so I'm excited. I'm going to and then he and Hoyta came in, and we're all seated and ready to go, and they stood right in the middle of the chamber and just literally came just to work. And they're talking. You can't hear them. They're looking. You can tell they're going. So how do we want to grab? Do we like how it looks? And I'm looking right at Nolan, going, are you not going to come and say hello? That's in my head, right? And I'm just looking at him going, oh, when he sees that I see him, he's going to come over and introduce himself, because that's what all directors do before you ever start a job. Everybody comes in, the directors, they'll come find you. and say, "Hey, I'm really glad you're on this project," or even if when you walk on the set, right? That's every job I've ever done. He's coming in, the guy is all business. And they're working, and I'm just looking at him, waiting, and then he's looking at me, but he's not looking at Greg. He's looking at the Senate chairman is there, and then he looks and he realizes I'm looking at him. And he goes, and you see him shift out of work brain into, "Oh, hi." That was it. And then he went right back into work brain. And then it was like, okay, I'll take that. That was nice because at least human guy but he works like he was all business. And what I realized, he doesn't, he's not about, he's not about he's all work. So even when we're like waiting for a lighting change or something to be moved, he's not doing so tell me about your day. What'd you have for breakfast? How many kids do you have? Which often happens. His set moves so fast that all he's doing is thinking about how to be as efficient as he can. And even his crew, there were no chairs outside the set. The room was closed, all the doors are closed. None of his crew sit on chairs. Nobody has cell phones. Everybody's literally like on the starting line because while we're shooting in there, then they go, "Oh, we're going to turn around, but we need to do a little something different with our light." First AD gets on his headset, the key grip gets on his headset, the doors fly open, in come all the equipment that needs to make the change. They come in flurry for 5 minutes, and then they leave, the door shut, and we're right back to just the people in the world of that scene. And it's so efficient. However, script supervisor, uh, Chris's wife, she came along the dais, made sure she said hello to everybody and thanked everybody because Chris is all work. Even Hoyda we'd run into at the hotel. And after they saw the first dailies, uh, which was really cool because um, we had extra days of work. We would shoot a day and then we had to wait a day because they would wait for because the dailies, because it was special new black and white 70 millimeter IMAX and Panavision film that they didn't have a truck to process it on location. It had to be, all the film had to be shipped back to LA, processed, made into prints that were then brought back, and then they had to watch them the night of the day after to see if everything was good before we could move forward. So 3 days of filming was 9 days of work. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, filmed in IMAX, wasn't it? I remember I saw it at the IMAX. Yeah, fantastic film.
And nobody said, "Oh, by the way, when we shoot the specialty stuff with the IMAX camera, um, it's going to sound like a freight train running through the set. So don't worry about yelling or over it. Just stay natural. Just do your dialogue like you normally would. You aren't going to be able to hear the actor. Like, so Robert and I have this exchange that's pretty heated, right? And they set up the IMAX camera and they go, "Okay, action, roll camera." And we're hearing ging, 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 ging. And literally was a deafening sound that I couldn't hear Robert, who's 25 feet away from me. Could not hear him. And he and I, you could see we both registered like, "What is that?" And then we went, "All right, right. Whose line's first?" Okay. He said his first line. And then I could see that his mouth stopped moving. And then I said my next line. And he could see that my mouth stopped moving. Because we couldn't hear each other. And then we got through the whole scene and we finished. And then you hear, cut. And then it's quiet again. And it's like, I'm thinking, couldn't somebody have warned us? Though we who have not worked with an IMAX camera that sounds like a broken refrigerator, that it's going to completely distract you and that you have to pretend it's not happening. Nobody warned us.
Hmm.
So our third day, Rami Malek does this amazing, right, uh, testimony that flips the film. We're all going, "Oh, they told Rami Malek. There's no way that they didn't tell Rami Malek, but they didn't tell Robert Downey Jr." But we're going because these are everybody's first days. So he comes to and they shot all of his close-ups on the Panavision 70 millimeter, blah, blah, blah. And then it was time for the IMAX stuff. And we're all going, all of us senators, many of whom are friends of mine, the five of us we actually have a chat thread as well. We're all going, we have money passing under the dais. Does he know? No, he doesn't know. So they went, all right, roll camera. And you saw Rami go. And then he saw everybody else in the room, all the other senators, all the other background, everybody's cool as cucumber because for 2 other days we've known, oh, this is what happens. And you saw him go, what was, and he looked at the camera and nobody's moving. And he came back and he went, oh, I see. And then he just gave another of probably four brilliant takes of a big speech, not all of which made it into the final cut. And and then they all, and we all went, oh, good. I don't feel diminished. They didn't tell Rami Malek either. I don't want to have to clean that underwear that he just soiled. It was like
That sounded challenging. And do you have any funny stories from Blue Bloods when you were filming?
funny stories. Did we talk about the boot on my head? We did.
We did, yeah.
Being
That was
swatted.
good, wasn't it?
We have a funny story. I'll tell you a funny story. Bob, it's going to be at Bob's expense. Did I talk about the fart machine?
No, you
Was
didn't
it?
talk about
All right.
that.
So did I talk about the tone on set when Tom's there and then when they're shooting everything else? Because Tom set the bar. He goes, look, I want to when we come in, I want you to be ready. Like he's not a he just knows that if you let things get loose, scenes can take forever to shoot because everybody's busy laughing and having fun and taking their time coming back. And he goes, let's get it done. So that's the tone. And when I first joined the show, that's how everything was. And I didn't realize that there's a whole other world of the tone of the Blue Bloods crew. So the first time Bob and I worked together in a scene in Garrett's office, where we're shooting, yeah, we're rolling on a rehearsal. And Bob's character comes in and sits in a chair, right, in Garrett's office. And one of our dolly grips, Chris, he had a remote fart machine and he put it under Bob's chair so that, and we're rolling on a rehearsal. And Bob comes in, sits down, and the whole crew, everybody busts out laughing. And we're like going, what just happened? And who are you people? And what planet have we stepped on? Because up until that moment, it's always been, business, everybody's focused, it's quiet, nobody makes any noise. But when dad's not around, the kids play like adolescents. And it's fun. It was really fun and wonderful. And here's what let me follow up with. I'm grateful that Tom sets the tone because they pick me up for work at 8:30 and I'm done by the time we break for lunch, no later than 4 o'clock. So my day is easy and economical and fast and manageable because when Tom works, it's like, let's get her done. And then Donnie and all them, the days take forever because everybody's laughing and everything takes longer. And um, but it was refreshing to see that contrast and to learn it and to appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. And finally, was you surprised the show ended? I mean, it had been going for 14 seasons, but at the same time, it must have been a bit of a surprise.
It was it a surprise. I knew that every new season was a gift. I didn't expect it to end. I didn't know it was ending until we came back from the strike and CBS tried to not honor the 18 episode contract that we all had for the final season for that season. When they said no, we only want to do 8 and then we're going to call it quits. And when they made that very clear, then I went, "Oh, we're done." And even though Tom and our executive producers, actually all the principals, nobody accepted that. Everybody's saying, we still have a lot of good stories to tell, and we all want to keep working. And we all did. However, me, the actor who's been, doing this for a living for over 40 years, uh, with enough rejection and enough cups of, reality, it was I knew, and I was able to emotionally prepare when they finally officially said that we're not coming back. I had known that was spring of that was the that was before we started shooting our final season. It was clear what the network's agenda was, even though I loved everyone else for attempting to keep it going, and I would have stayed. I mean, it's a dream job.
Yeah.
It is the best job I've ever had, and I've had nothing but great jobs.
And how many times do people call you Garrett in a day?
So if I walk the streets without a hat on, I learned this last week when we were celebrating Josie Rodriguez at the Ardios. I was in a suit, I was wearing a trench coat, and didn't have a hat on. I was Garrett. I was in costume as Garrett, basically, walking the streets of New York 3 times. Hey, Blue Bloods! Hey, hey! Oh, people would stop and go, you're. It was like, and so David Hyde Pierce taught me, especially walking the streets of New York. He goes, the moment I started wearing a baseball hat, I was able to, that people don't really recognize you until you're this close. And then you're already passed before they've clocked you. And then, no one's going to go, hey, right? So I adopted that because my white hair, which is what I love best about that final episode in the funeral, is you're going, oh, where's Garrett? Oh, that white beacon of hair that's in the middle of that sea of dark blue and hair color. There's where Greg is. It's like, oh, that's a nice thing. The white haired guy, you can find him. And it is the key to uh, being recognized or not. Is if I wear a hat, people don't do the math. I also miss, the only thing I miss about COVID masks is that I was able to be anonymous for several months. Nobody knew, you wear a hat and you wear a mask. I was invisible and it was not, let's be honest, it's a real privilege to have a job where people are excited to see you and meet you and sometimes have embarrassing out of body experiences and don't know what to do. And you get the opportunity to thrill them in that way, right? I'm grateful for that. But it was nice for a while to be able to be like everybody else
Yeah.
because I'm not still, and I'm grateful for that. I don't have a problem with that. I know how to manage it. My family knows how to manage it now. It hasn't become intrusive or a hardship.
But I'm sure if somebody comes up to you, you're very approachable. You don't seem like you wouldn't be.
Thank you. I'd like to think that that is my practice. Yeah, because I do have gratitude. I realize, let me look at the Juilliard grad in 1986 going, oh, I just hope I get to make a living doing this. And here I am at 63, having been on a show that has touched so many people and that I constantly get thanked and or rewarded with the appreciation of having done my job as an actor. That's like, oh, this is what I've always wanted. How lucky.